Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers! In today's video, we're looking at another gigantic mining vehicle, and this one is called the Heavy Mining Carriage, which is this glorious thing sitting right behind me. So this is an absolute massive, basically mobile mining rig that features a spinning mining head that you can see right at the very bottom near those landing legs that'll go down and down and down thanks to a bunch of pistons lined up, and well, you can just set it, it'll automatically drill everything up, you can set it to automatically eject out stone, and well, like it says on the Steam Workshop page, you can activate it, let it do its thing, go grab coffee, then come back, you'll have all the resources you need, and we'll just pull this away and fly it back to base. So press the F10 and find this in spawn menu. The Heavy Mining Carriage is, if it wants to load, there it is, 732 large blocks, only using the Deco Block number 2 and number 1 DLC pack. We've got here one hell of a lot of very important information about it, such as its depth is 70 meters, it's got 2 activation hoppers which can be activated individually, then down to here we can see it's been made specifically for Keen's official servers. Down to there it says full on specifications and what it features. Yes, this thing does have a jump drive on here, so you can do long distance mining if that's what you want to do. We've got hydrogen thrusters, enough for it to be able to pull out of atmosphere, so you're good for pretty much anywhere. So giving this thing a thumbs up, what we're going to do is move around towards the very front. In fact, before we do that, what I am going to do is just grab hold of my character and just start it up. We are sitting on a fairly large asteroid. Did have to use the Vauxhall hands to make a nice flat surface for this thing to sit on. What I will do is start this up and let it drill all the way down while having a look around the outside. So over here we've got a very handy little button panel where we only need to worry about this first button and this last button, which is going to be to start it up and then to stop it. So go and start that up, bring back the free camera, and that's how it simply drills down. The pistons will slowly extend all the way out. Down to there we've got our rotor, which is why it's spinning all the way around at a very slow rate, and should make a nice big circle as it goes down and down and down, collect up all the resources. For the outside of this thing, I suppose we will start down at the bottom here, and this is what we get. So on the left and right hand side, we see we've got a bunch of landing legs to make sure this thing is nice and stable, just in case one of them do get, say, blown up in combat. You've still got a bunch more backups to keep this thing steady. On the left hand side, we can see a bunch of ladders go all the way up over to that platform where I'm currently standing, to be able to easily access those buttons to start up and stop it without using your jetpack. Right in the very middle here we've got 2 more landing legs, which is going to be how we're going to clamp this whole arm in place when we drive this thing around. Now you want to be very careful not to press P when you're undoing your legs to actually take this thing off, because it will disconnect these as well, and while your drilling arm will wobble around and perhaps damage itself or even just blow up into many little pieces if you're not careful. Moving slightly up here we'll see the start of many large cargo containers to store all your goods inside, and there's another ladder straight at the very middle that leads you to the very top of the platform, which is where we're going to drive this thing around and also have a little perch to see what's going on. Pulling away, moving slightly up to here, we then got some more hydrogen thrusters to move this thing around, and we've got a couple of oxygen tanks to make sure you don't suffocate when in the main cockpit, and there's 2 Gatling guns for a bit of defense, the only form of defense on this, that will help you out of any kind of pesky drones or any kind of spiders that come to ruin your day. Moving up and up and up, we've got some large hydrogen thrusters to pull us off the ground. And up to here, we've then got our large hydrogen tanks. Make sure we've got plenty of fuel on here to drive this thing around. At the top here, we then got our connector to dock it up. We also have a secondary one on the very tippy top of this thing, make it easier to connect up, just in case this one on the side is a bit awkward to use. Coming all the way up and looking down at this thing, there's our connector, and there's a secondary platform for us to walk around on. There's our jump drive to activate, where we should be able to jump a fairly short range with this thing. Then we've got 2 gyroscopes to move it around. Over this side, we then see our cockpit to drive it around, so we do face straight down, which is very handy for actually aiming this up and aligning it with where we need to go. Maybe we're going to come over to one of the side panels right here. Here we go. Down we come, past these yellow steel blocks. There's some more hydrogen thrusters. There's the side of our guns. There's a little oxygen tank. There's a blaster edge block just sitting on the sides of more cargo containers. There's an ore detector to make sure we can use this to actually probably go out and about and scout for ore patches without needing any kind of third-party inputs. And there's our landing legs at the bottom. Come around towards the very back of this thing, so we do have a slightly different setup. So there's the back of the landing leg, there's our lovely arms being almost fully extended all the way out, and moving all the way up. There we are. Then we're going to come all the way down underneath this thing, down we come like so. That's basically all we can see. We see the arm is wobbling around a little bit, which is perfectly fine, it's not going to damage itself like so, but that's generally because of the way the head is spinning around thanks to the rotor. Putting my light on once again, we've got 2 spotlights to light up the darkness, and then we've got some red lights which we can activate when we activate the hoppers, depending on what we want to do. It will just activate when we click the corresponding button in the cockpit, but we'll see that a bit later on. And of course, there are ejectors to get rid of any old stone that we don't need. Yes, we would take a look down here in the hole. We see that it's doing a fine job of making a big old circle, collecting up all of that stone that I really don't need. And then from a distance, that's simply what it looks like. And I don't think I missed out anything to the outside of this thing, so I think it's time for me to grab hold of my character and head on inside. So we're going to start at the very bottom here and work our way all the way up. So down to the ground here, there we are. And now it's time to hop up onto this ladder. So just doing a little jump. There we go, grab hold of this, climb all the way up. And while yes, this thing is a very big building, so it will take a very long time to get to the top without a jetpack, we're going to do a very good job. Or if you're in low gravity like me, or no gravity, you can simply do a jump and work your way to the top like that. But no, I'll come back down to this platform. Here we go. If I can actually land properly, there we are. Now we're over to this button panel. So with this, the way it's been set up is if I right click it, then we've got our start, got our stop, then we've got stuff to do with our pistons. We generally don't want to touch these two in the middle because it's all been set up perfectly fine to handle everything in the game. So once we're happy with it, once it's finished drilling, now just press number 4, then we'll track all the way back, but we're just going to leave it till it's fully extended. We come around to here and start climbing up this ladder. Here we go, all the way up, looking down there. And yes, it's quite a scary sight. And while you're a bit of a sitting duck from any gun drones if they want to start pummeling you, your guns will not be able to cover you from this angle, so they're only really good at the side. Anyway, almost there now. Up we go. And while the drill should be finished anytime soon, because I don't think there's too much for it to extend out with. Although this one doesn't look fully extended out, although it might be. Could just be with how the shadows are behaving. Anyway, now we're at the very top here. Here's the tippy top of our piston. Putting on my light, looking around here, we see we've got ourselves an O2HU generator down there to help power the hydrogen thrusters. And just walking around here, there's our large hydrogen thrusters, so we can easily access them and repair them up. And looking up to there, there's a ladder that goes further up. Around here we go. It's still a very dangerous area because we are using unfinished blocks, so any little bit of damage, and we're going to be falling all the way down. Now we're going to come to this ladder, climb all the way up to here if we can. I think it's going to work, so just have to jetpack up here a little bit. There is a cryopod for you to recharge yourself on, and we'll heal yourself up. Popping out here and just coming up to this section where we're not really supposed to be in this side because there's no actual way to get inside this area. So coming down to here, here's your hydrogen tanks. Looking around there, there's your jump drive. Into the opposite side, squeezing my character out. It's going to be the exact same thing. So there's the top of the jump drives, there's the hydrogen tank, and not much else to talk about. Just going to slide all the way up to here. So now we're at the very top of this thing, landing myself down. There's your jump drive where we can access this very easily to change the jump range. There's your gyroscope. And while looking around here, there's not too much else to talk about. So what we are going to do now is come down this little hole. This is where our cockpit is sitting. And we can just walk down here because there's no gravity. Hopping inside here. And in first person view, this is all we can see. So we can just about see what we're doing with this. If we were to come over to tab number 3, we will have a camera to precisely see where we're going. Now when it's like this, we're not going to be able to see too much because it is attached onto the drills. But when they're fully retracted all the way back up, and we lock them in place, we can use this to fly the ship around. Anyway, coming out of that camera, over to tab number 1, bring the 3 camera like so, because it's a very odd view from the top there. And these are the controls we get. So number 1, number 2 is going to be for your hydrogen thrusters, all around the ship to turn them on and off. Number 1 is to turn on all your small hydrogen thrusters, and number 2 is to turn on your large ones, so you do have a few options if you want to save on a bit of hydrogen. Number 3 is then for your connectors to lock and unlock them. Number 4 is for your magnetic plates at the bottom here to lock and unlock them. Number 5 is then for your turrets to turn them on and off. Number 6 for your jump drive where we can't really jump currently because we are locked onto the ground. Number 7 is for the landing legs right here, so we do need to be very careful with this. If it is active, you're going to cause problems if you lock this in place. Just leave it as it is. Then number 8 and number 9 is the same as the button panels sitting right up there, where number 8 is to start this whole thing up, and then number 9 is to stop it, where we can now actually stop it and have it retract all the way back. Luckily, the stopping process is a lot quicker than moving all the way down, so as you can see, we're doing record time, going all the way back up, and it should stop spinning. But once it's all done, we then lock it in place with number 7, and we're good to fly this thing away. So while that's doing that, over to tab number 2, they've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and there it is the head. So we can come back to tab number 1, and just simply lock that in place. But yes, for number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, these are going to be for your background systems, as well as your hoppers on the left and right hand side. So the background system is going to be for all the unimportant stuff that don't need to be active while actually drilling on the ground. But number 3, number 4 is going to be for your hopping systems, which is down to here, which is how we're going to filter everything out. So pressing number 3, now light the left hand side, pressing number 4, and then light the right hand side. So we can see when they're active and when they're going to be pumping out all the stone or any other resources you don't want to have. Number 5 is then for your ore detector to turn that on and off. Number 6 for your antenna at the very top to turn that on and off. Number 7 for your batteries to auto recharge, and it will disable the entire ship, as you saw right there. Number 8 for your hydrogen tanks to stop power on and off. And then number 9 for your hydrogen engines, just in case you want a bit more power. Over to tab number 3, this is for, well, your drills and everything, but you don't really need to touch this tab. This is for manual control, and of course, trying to sort stuff out if something's gone horribly wrong. So number 1 is to take manual control over your drills. Oop, I pressed number 2 there. Yes, number 1, we now can mouse click that to actually drill it away, or press number 2 to make a very big hole. Number 2 is then to automatically turn it on and off. There we go. Number 3, number 4 is to change your speed, which you don't really want to touch with this thing. Number 5 and number 6 for the rotor, where the drills are attached onto the pistons. Number 7 is then for that camera sitting right there. Then number 8 for some lights to make sure it's nice and bright in here. And then number 9 is for your stone filter to turn that on and off. So now if we come over to 3 and 4, activate that, back into the free camera, we should now start ejecting out any kind of stone, which we don't need, although it's not going to work, so I believe I have messed up some of the controls. So leave it as that. Over to tab number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we've got nothing else. So what we are going to do is now drive this thing around. So what we've got to do is now grab hold of my character, come like this, and I'm going to come into the camera like so. Now I'm going to press P, here we go. Back over to tab number 1, we're going to reverse this thing away the best I can. Here we are, press number 7, lock that in place. Now we can simply drive this around like a proper little ship. So once we're fully away, I can now rotate this all the way up. Here we go. It is a little bit odd because it does tend to fight you quite a lot while moving around. So here we go now, coming all the way up like so. Very, very difficult. Coming in it like that, into third person view. That's simply how we drive it around. And with the brilliant sunlight all the way back around, so we get a better view of what's going on here. That's about as good as I can do. Bring the free camera all the way up. There we are. Ooh, in fact, we did eject stone out. My mistake there. Which makes perfect sense because it's not actually going to be going anywhere because there's no gravity to pull it around. Anyway, up to here, this is what it looks like when it flies around, so it does look very nice in ship form instead of being landed down onto the ground in tower form. And yes, once again, grabbing hold of this and simply driving it around. See where they come into this and actually see how much we got in here so we see just how heavy we are. So hiding all the empty, as you can see here, we've got 14,000 in our connector. All the way down to here, we then got, well, basically 1 million in each of our large cargo containers. Down to there, another 1 million. And well, yes, this is one hell of a lot of resources that we don't really need. But I suppose stone is very useful at the start of survival mode. And speaking of survival mode, this thing is perfectly set up for survival mode to be built in it and to be operational. Sure, there'll be a bit fiddling with some of the subgrids, but I'm sure you can get it done. But yes, as you can see here, we are bloody slow at driving this thing around once we're all full up, or close to being full up. And we're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. But what we can do is now do a jump, where we can jump 29.79 kilometers, which is well perfectly fine for something that's so damn heavy. So we're going to let that jump. And there we go. So we haven't really gone too far away from that asteroid, but it's certainly better than nothing. Moving backwards, that's what we get. It feels a little bit better than moving forwards, which is what you want because we are going to be landing down straight down like a tower, so you're going to have more thrust moving all the way up to try and get you out of the planetary gravity. Moving left, and moving right, we are bloody slow with that. Moving down, and then moving up again, we are bloody slow with that. And as for gyroscope controls, well, as you can see here, we're not actually too bad. There is a lot of weight on here, it's very meaty, but it's not the heaviest ship I've ever driven. No, this thing has got a surprising amount of control on there, which is very good stuff to have, especially when you try to maneuver this thing around and get it connected up to that connector. And well, hopefully not risk damaging anything when trying to fiddle around with it. Yes, that's pretty much it what the Heavy Mining Carriage has to offer. It's a lovely mining ship to use in your world if you want to have something that's survival ready, perfectly capable of being used on Keen's own official servers, and what should do very well when you want to gather up a nice lot of resources. So what we're going to do now, because there's not too much else to talk about, is drive along towards one of these asteroids, just slam straight into it, see what kind of damage we can deal. And here we go, we're now approaching the asteroid at maximum speed. It's taking quite some time to get all the way over to here, but here we come all the way down into the ground, straight where we were mining. And wow, I missed it completely, but there goes my character. How did I miss that completely? But my god, look at that. There is barely anything remaining of that mining ship. We've got a couple of drill arms just floating away there. Look at that. Bring the free camera over and putting on my light down to here. Wow, look at that damage. Well, there's a connector. There's where I'm sitting. We've got a couple of blast edge blocks which did survive. And well, yes, that is quite a bit of damage. That is that for the Heavy Mining Carriage. It's a lovely ship to use in your world. There'll be a link to it in the description below to which you download and play around with yourself. Highly recommend you do. As well as a link to the Skybox I'm currently using. This is a different one. Can't remember its name. There'll also be a link to that. And I'll be back with another video sometime soon. Bye bye.